Happy Wealth Wednesday. Jessica, I'm so excited to have you here. You have been building some really interesting projects. But we always ask everyone if you remember your first ever investment and what got you started.
So I'll give two answers. My first real financial investment was actually my first year of business school. So I grew up in an extremely low income family. My dad has a ton of health problems. My mom's a teacher, and you know, I by no means had any money. And so I didn't really understand the importance of 401ks. If I go back in time, like I would, or anything like that until I got to business school, which was in 2019. It's now March 2022, and it was in my finance class that I really started to learn, just the importance and the annuities and the fact that like your money grows over time. Like this seems like a very simple concept, but I just hadn't gotten exposed to it. I didn't have anyone to look up to for financial advice ever. I did have a partner at Deloitte once tell me or kind of scold me for not putting anything into my 401k, but I just figured, he's like an old guy. I'm not going to listen to him, like whatever. So the first stock that I bought was Peloton because I had just bought a Peloton bike. I actually, when I was at Deloitte, auditioned to become a SoulCycle instructor, like made it past the first round and almost quit my job to become a SoulCycle instructor. Luckily, like that didn't happen because I didn't pick me. But I've always loved cycling, and so this was before the pandemic, like February 2020, where I bought like I don't know, maybe like 4 shares of Peloton. And that was my first like real investment. And then a month later, March 16th, 2020, when like the market hit like a real bottom, I bought Amazon, which I recently sold before it dipped again. So like in 2021, Facebook, a lot of companies that I use. Like that's how I think about it is if I'm going to buy individual stocks, I did buy an ETF, a couple of them, like to diversify my portfolio because I went to my finance professor and was like, he was the vice dean of academics. I was like, hey, I just bought Peloton stock. And he's like, you're doing exactly what we told you not to do. We told you to buy a portfolio and you're totally going against that. And so whatever. And then I think my original answer when you asked me was like my first like real investment was like investment of time. So in high school, like I knew there was gonna be no way that my parents would be able to afford to send me to college. So my sophomore year, first semester of high school, I like kind of like stopped everything that I was doing and took a step back and thought like, okay, what do I need to do to get a full ride of school? And kind of mapped out a plan so that I could take enough classes to become valedictorian. Took 17 AP classes, which added like points to my GPA, became captain of the cheerleading team, started a club, and like did all the things on the checklist that I told myself I needed to do. But I definitely felt like there was a lot of a sacrifice of time. I was still super social, but for me, that was like one of the first big investments of time that I ever made in my life.
That's really powerful. No one's shared that in particular, but it really resonates with me. All these crazy things. How and why did you ultimately get into your space now, building a marketplace for the metaverse?
Yeah, I've never thought about all those things tying together as a thread. So that's a really interesting point that you made. I'm gonna have to ponder and reflect on that for sure later. So I found myself becoming a TikTok creator over the last year. I originally started back when I joined Spirit Bomb because our target fan was Gen Z at the time, and they live and breathe TikTok. And all the content we are making was animated, which costs a lot of money to make a 30-second video. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm the only business person here. I'm going to learn TikTok and just start putting out content, run some tests on like what I think is high performing and what I don't think is not, and see what works. And so did that and like quickly grew a following talking about business school. And then in the fall started posting about Web3. My last company, we also did NFTs. So we did music NFTs back in like February, March, like in 2021, right when all of them were really kind of starting to happen with our virtual artists. We also did a music NFT with The Weeknd. which was really cool, which like grossed over like 2.4 million, which is insane. But I think I got exposed to the NFT market pretty early in the year and felt honestly, I was very anti NFT at the time. I was questioning why we were even doing it. I didn't see the point in it. It just felt like a cash grab, but it wasn't. It was all about us putting our art out into the world. And so I think for me, it really hit home when we did a collab with Bright Moments in July. So we were like their second live show ever at their Venice location. We did a character collectible card. And I think they're seeing the power of community and people physically coming to this IRL space in a very virtual world was really eye-opening for me. And so started posting content about Web3 and kept hearing over and over from my followers, we don't understand NFTs, we don't get the point of them. They're just overpriced JPEGs. And so really wanted to solve that problem. And then seeing Timbaland use NFTs in a way where he was adding utility to them, leveraging the IP, and that being the utility, to me struck a chord that felt like a once in a lifetime type of opportunity, because when else can you so easily buy IP and then get to exploit it, right? Or use it in some kind of way. Imagine if you could have had a piece of Mickey Mouse as an NFT back when it was first starting. And that's kind of what it felt like to me. And so originally Radius started off as something very similar to my past role. So taking existing NFTs, turning them into virtual artists, realize it's just like really, really tough to scale. And that's actually like the problem to solve that got me into the program for Techstars Music. My last company did too. So, that was helpful. But I think honestly, like the most recent pivot was last week. I've pivoted twice already. So once from take a virtual artist or take NFT, turn a virtual artist to let's build a marketplace for licensing NFTs. Now it's more of a bigger picture of let's provide brands access to everything they need for the metaverse, with licensing NFTs being just one part of that. And a lot of it kind of came to talking to companies and doing customer development interviews and more market research. I've always believed that the more minds you can put on something, the better an idea can come to fruition. And I think really just chatting with folks and getting really great feedback from mentors was really helpful. And just I've talked to almost like 35 NFT holders that have like Bored Apes, World of Women, a lot of blue chip NFTs, and just hearing from them too about their perspective really resonated with me. There's definitely a problem to be solved in regards of I have this NFT just sitting in my wallet collecting digital dust. What can I do with it? And then on the brand side, talking to brands and companies, I kept hearing, we're not even at the point where we're ready to start licensing NFTs per se, but we know we would like to in the future. We're at step 1 or step 0, honestly, where we know we want something in the metaverse and Web3, but we don't know what. And so I knew I didn't want to be an agency. I wanted to do something that's scalable. And so that's sort of where the idea of, okay, I can solve the NFT holders problem through this way, and then I can solve the bigger problem, which is for brands and et cetera, by partnering with service providers.
What role do you think and feel you play in the wealth space, and why is it important?
Ooh.
Especially for creators and creatives.
Yeah, I focus a lot on education. So like I mentioned, my first investment was Peloton, actually almost a little over 2 years ago. It's March 22nd. So I wish that I had known back when I was, 15 or whatever age, what I know now. And that's one reason why I love TikTok, is because the demographics have definitely gotten a little bit older over the past year, but a majority is Gen Z. And so I wish I could have known things that I know now back then. And so I try to focus on pointing to resources and pointing people to the right place of where they need to go, which I'm just realizing now is kind of what I'm doing with my company too.
Just like side question, where do you feel this 15-year-old self, like this Gen Z audience, is now?
Oh my gosh, they know so much more than we did. Or I'll speak for myself, but I mean, my mom teaches 4th grade and her kids are building robots in her classroom. Like it's so impressive to see where people are. And I will say Gen Z is extremely anti-NFT. 82% of them think NFTs are a scam. And so, you know, I'm really hopeful for the future of Web3, but I also think there's a lot of growing pains that the industry as a whole has to go through. With one of those being, utility of NFTs, and I think we've only seen 0.1% of NFT use cases. I'm most excited for like the real estate industry and healthcare in particular, like being able to have one electronic record and take that with you everywhere you go. Like I've always wished that my therapist could put notes in one place, and every therapist that I ever see, after that gets that, right? So, being able to mint your home and then get a percentage of it every time it's sold, like it's wild. So I think Gen Z and the 15-year-olds today are so much more advanced than I was at that age, and it makes me really hopeful for the future. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the
What do you think is the most exciting thing that you've learned that you would want others to know?
I believe your mindset truly controls your destiny. And that is something that I have been learning over the past couple months. And to me, that's really exciting because as an entrepreneur, you're going to be told no. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to, like, there's been countless times where I've questioned, like, is this the right thing to do? And focusing on your mindset to me has been really exciting because it feels like the first time where like I've realized I can have total control over my brain and how I think about the world and positivity in a way where I think in the past it felt very much externally driven. Whereas I've realized like the true power of internal solitude or internal, almost like internal exercise to an extent. And like that's been really exciting for me.
Is there a person or a company right now that's really inspiring you, and why?
I've been spending a lot of time on Twitter recently, and I will say Li Jin, I really, really appreciate the knowledge that she puts out into the world, and she's focused a lot on the creator economy. I actually was randomly in a house with her in Aspen for a week. And she's just like the nicest human ever. And just, I think that she's been really fascinating to watch because she's grown a lot as a person, but also just seeing the knowledge that she puts out into the world too, I think is really inspirational. Yeah.
And what advice would you give to somebody getting started as a founder, investing, or, even as a creator?
Talk to as many people as possible. If you have an idea that you think someone else will take, then in my opinion, you're not unique enough to do it. And what I mean by that is I've never been worried that by talking to people, someone would steal my idea because of the personal insight that I have and the experience that I have. And so, I think that chatting with people about your idea can help you almost do like mini feedback sessions and just talking to folks. I think also talking about it puts it out into the world and makes it real. And I think the same thing happens with content creation is that at first, a lot of content creators like don't tell their friends or like don't talk to people about it because they might be embarrassed or think it's like silly or, whatever, especially, putting yourself out there in the media. But the more you talk about it, the more real it becomes. And I think that that's really powerful.
Absolutely. And anything else we should know? How can we follow Radia and what you're doing both on TikTok and Twitter?
Yeah, so you can follow Radia by signing up for our waitlist at radia.world. That's the website. And then you can follow us on Twitter at radia_world. And then you can follow me on TikTok where I post about Web3 at Jessica E. Lawson. And then on Twitter at Jessica Lawson 92. I'm working on getting synchronized handles.
I love it. This is awesome. We'll definitely share all of that in this section and in the segment, and we'll be following along. I think it's so inspirational. Very much looking forward to as you're building this in public, and just glad to have another amazing female founder in the space building with a really unique perspective. So thanks so much, Jessica.
Thank you.